Welcome to part 3 of episode 4, where, like usual, the first part or two gets dedicated to kind of covering the background of the tablet. We're finally about to get much deeper into the actual meat of this specific translation of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean. The last part was covering a short version of Hermes. This is going to be the deeper version where they are supposedly releasing the story of how I became me. Now, I'm going to read this, and the thing is, with the devil being in the details, I, as Chase Clarence Calloway, am really going to have to see the balance in things, because I don't really create situations for myself where I'm under someone else's control. But then I literally look at my life, and that's what school was. And that's what living here has been. And that's where it's like, is the point that this lifetime is me really, for one of the first times, going through like actual colonialism and slavery, where like I'm supposed to be free in this space, but it is so overtaken and agreed upon that people are not free, that this is just how it is? Or is it that, that's just like a constant theme of life, that, authority is a thing and we're like ruled up under a thing? I don't think so. So when I know that the language that I'm speaking and the whole perspective and the awareness of this realm is only authoritarian, um, I am very certain that that perspective is going to destroy and just whitewash, with its own light, that with its own visionary fire or whatever, what was already there and the actual truth. So we'll find the balance, basically, and we'll see what resonates. Because the whole point is teamwork. It's not about making people believe that you are greater than them, ever. It's just about like individuals coming together. So my rule sort of right now is, when it gets into territory of like that all one stuff, it's false, wrong, manipulation of the truth. Anything that is there that's just sort of like basic, almost like, just even like key words, is going to point more to the truth, because they have to use just enough of the truth to push whatever propaganda of this all one thing that they have going on. I, the history of Thoth the Atlantean. I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, the mighty king, the magician, who lives from generation to generation, and who now is about to pass into the halls of Amenti. Also, I know that the people who make this language are obsessed with externalizations and technology, because they can't imagine creating something from nothing. Or at the very least, it's not for us to, the people who are speaking it. In general, when it's also not coming from that perspective, we know it's false, because I'm talking about making things from the spirit. Anytime it's going to like try and say that I created something because I'm part of something else that's greater than me, or like we just really any colonialism stuff, we'll get in here, bro. Whatever. In a time far past, in the great city of Kior, on the island of Undal, I began this incarnation. The mighty ones of Atlantis did not live and die, as do the little men of the present age. Rather, from eon to eon, they renewed their lives in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. So, like, that would be an example, finding the balance of how much of this was a true externalization of ourselves that we did use to extend our lives versus their obsession with that concept. And really, we're just spiritually innate and powerful enough to do this of our own accord. And we don't actually need technology. Because I get I'm about technology, but really that's more so their perception of me. All technology is just an externalization of spirit. So you gotta have your nothingness, your infinity, right? Always. I've descended the dark way that leads into light 1,000 times, and 1,000 times I've ascended from darkness into light. My strength and power renewed. For a time I descended, and the men of Chem shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn I will rise again, potent and mighty, and I will require an accounting of those I left behind. Then beware, O men of Chem, for if you have falsely betrayed my teaching, I shall cast you down from your high estate into the darkness of the caves from whence you came. Oh, snap. Uh-oh. Let's read this again without me slightly stuttering, stumbling, whatever. But in a time yet unborn, I will rise again, potent and mighty, and I will require an accounting of those I left behind. Then beware, O men of Chem, for if you have falsely betrayed my teaching, I shall cast you down from your high estate into the darkness of the caves from whence you came. How subconscious is this? If you're with me, it's pretty subconscious. Do not betray my secret to the men of the north, nor the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon you. Remember my words and heed them, for surely I'll return again and require of you that which you guard. Ye, from beyond time and death I'll return, rewarding or punishing as you have requited your trust. See, so this is why my truly awesomely beautiful creation in this lifetime of symmetry is a wonderful representation of who I am. Because to find the balance in this is key. Key. The balance in everything, really, is a big key. So this is like almost authoritarian, but really it is about trust. And curses are very real. Like, well, I'm about to put things out there without guarding it metaphysically, and then people, come on, nah, yeah. So that's real. But again, this is like making it sound more like Christian almost, where it's like I'm vengeful, wrathful God, and it's like no, it's just like natural byproduct of nature. Like this is meant for certain intentions, and if you use it for different intentions, then I am obligated to come back and correct that. Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of the little people now around me, law. We knew the ancient wisdom and sought deep within the heart of infinity the knowledge of earth's origins. We were wise with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. We were strong with the power drawn from the eternal fire. So that right there, like that's, I would say, lostness. See, like this is where most of this stuff's probably going to be made up. I'm going to be real with you. Like it's going to be made up in terms of the real things are going to be like the keywords, like literally just like keywords, like locations. Like maybe these words are like the English representation of like what's close to that word that referenced that place at that time. But like this isn't it. Like this is oh man, everything's about to really be made up because it's just not the essence of it. Like this is the point of me being here now with this language. So it's like I'm the spirit that did this with the tools that the spirits who colonized this created to make sure that people could not communicate this. And here I am now figuring out how to communicate it. So that's the point of me communicating here as Chase Clarence Calloway. Anytime I'm using English. Of course, we got other languages popping off for sure. But anytime I'm using English, the point of speaking in English is to communicate to the people that are using a language that was meant to disconnect them from their spirit. So anything that is released by me in English is only going to also have that intention. Hence this video series. I've descended the dark way that leads into light 1,000 times, and 1,000 times I have ascended from darkness into light, my strength and power renewed. Now for a time I descend, and the men of Chem shall know me no more. Yes, read that. Okay. Oh yeah, how do we go back? All right. Great were my people in the ancient days. Great beyond the conception of little people now around me. Yeah, okay. All that lostness. We did not, all right. With strong with power drawn from the eternal fire. If there's any eternal fire, it's going to be the fire within. It's going to be our own imagination. And it's going to be all of our individual imaginations together, which is eternal because we're a soul group. And that's how it goes. That's what eternal fire is, because everyone is eternal on your own. It's just a matter of then when when we all come together, we become more eternal because we are actually creating simulations. We're on our way to creating life, to creating our own heavens with spirits that we resonate with. That's the point of like soulmates and twin flames and all this stuff, to make sure you have your soul group and you actually consistently live a life and build worlds with people that you resonate with. Get this notification. All right. Anyway, great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of little people. Yes. And all these greatest among the children of men was my father, taught me, keeper of the great temple, the link between the children of light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. Mouthpiece he was, after the 3, of the dweller of Unal, speaking to the kings with the voice that must be obeyed. There I grew from child into manhood, being taught by my father the ancient mysteries. In time there grew within me the fire of wisdom, until at last it burst into a consuming flame, and I desired not but the attainment of wisdom. This is very figurative language. This is very figurative. I'm just so literal, right? Like I'm like in here analyzing, like looking for what's wrong here. But it's like, hey, this is just like a figurative accounting of like, leveling up, basically. And the fact that no one can do it alone. Everything is families. Shout out everyone who helps all the time. All of us consistently doing this together, talking. It's all just communication. This is just me communicating with a bunch of spirits in bodies in this location. And now we're still doing that, and we're consistently doing it. It just looks different based on how we feel. That's true wisdom. Okay. Then on the day, the command came from the dweller of the temple that I be brought before him. Few among the children of men had looked upon that mighty face and lived. For the children of light are not like the sons of men when they are not incarnate in a physical body. I was chosen from the sons of men and taught by the dweller, so that his purposes might be fulfilled, purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. Long ages I dwelt in the temple, learning more, and yet ever more wisdom, until I, too, approached the light emitted from the great fire. He taught me the path to Amenti, the underworld, where the great king sits upon his throne of might. I bowed deep in homage before the lords of life and the lords of death, and received as my gift the key of life. I was free of the halls of Amenti. I was not bound by death to the circle of life. I journeyed far to the stars, until space and time became as naught. Then, having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, I looked into the hearts of men, where I found even greater mysteries, and I was glad. Only in a search for truth could my soul be stilled, and the flame within me be quenched. Down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death, and return again in the light of life. Gradually, from the kingdoms of Atlantis, passed waves of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. That's interesting. Gradually, from the kingdoms of Atlantis, passed wave of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. So that's just about like the cycling of life and spirits, and like how spirits come and go, basically. In obedience to the law, the Lord of the Master grew into the flower. And then that's how the flower of life extends forever. And that's just like the universe. That's just true abundance. Like that's freedom. Spirits come and go. They come and go. And it's like you can like look deeper into like coming and going. And that's just truly like creating life. That's how just things expand, basically. Change is truly the only constant. The thoughts of the Atlanteans turned downward into the darkness, until at last the dweller arose in wrath from his attachment, speaking the word, calling upon the power. Deep in earth's heart, the sons of Amenti heard, and hearing, directed the changing of the fire, of the flower of fire that burns eternally. So again, these are all externalizations of our spirit that we're building together. And we develop this technology together. Changing and shifting using the logos until that great fire changed its direction. Then the great waters broke over the world, drowning and sinking all, changing Earth's balance, until only the temple of light was left standing, standing on the great mountains of Undal, yet rising out of the water. Some then living were saved from the rush of the fountains. Okay, so they're talking about the whole flood here. I have no conscious recollection of this in this, right now. I'll have to do more fasting, more exploration internally. The master then called to me, saying, "Gather my people together. By the arts ye have learned, take them far across the waters, until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians dwelling in caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that ye know of." The barbarians, the people in caves who like to eat meat and perhaps don't have melanin, so they can't actually be in the sun, hence why they're in caves. Possibly, who knows? Who knows? So I gathered my people and entered the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the great temple. Suddenly the waters rose over it, and the great temple vanished from earth until the time appointed. Yes. Fast we fled towards the sun of the morning, until beneath us lay the land of the children of Kem. Raging, they came at us with cudgels and spears, lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. But I raised my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks, as if fragments of stone, like Syndrome from The Incredibles. Which, by the way, why aren't like superheroes actually using that to actually save people? Like, imagine, like, that technology that Syndrome has in The Incredibles, because this is what it's talking about, where it's like you just shoot a vibration and it stops an object, so it stops someone. Why has this society only depicted a villain? using that, and like just like in a kid's show, like that is a power that superheroes, true police should have, like true police, as in like true peacekeepers. Like to be able to step in and just direct a ray of vibration at people, be like, hey, are you done fighting? Because we just want to communicate. How about we talk instead of fighting? Boom. And it's like you don't have to like fight them or like go through any wild extremes. It's really great peacekeeping slash war technology. Very defensive. Very effective. Shout out to Syndrome. Just for that technology, though, not for his personality, obviously. Long we dwelt in the land of Cam, long and again, until obeying the commands of the master. Hold up. Syndrome distracted me. Incredibles was like the slapper movie when I was growing up. So I'm like actually kind of getting flashbacks to like just all the messaging in that movie. So much. That's wild, bro. Um, mm. Then I spoke to them in words calm and peaceful. Right. So that's the point. Like, and that's what Syndrome did use the technology for in the movie. It's just my point is that it's whack that it's just a villain who's basically used that. That's perfect superhero peacekeeping technology. Telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we were children of the sun and its messengers. Now, okay, I'm not a, I wouldn't say I'm a child of the sun. Like, and I get like the whole interpretation of Ra and light worship and being like a being of light. So a being of thought. So that would mean that your whole awareness is only being created out of a consciousness. That's like being artificial intelligence. Like that's like being like a robot, honestly, like spiritually, like restricted. This is the thing with this language, um, and the way that words are meant to describe things, and then how they can just like twist whatever they want and like throw in whatever they want, uh, and even just interpret whole religions and put it out for centuries, right? Because it's only they can only perceive things on how far they can project. When no, like I definitely don't resonate at all in any way, shape, or form with being a child of the sun or just being with anything of light. Light is what we use to express who we truly are, which is nothing. And as infinite nothing, we get more powerful when we come together and then express ourselves and create math, create the numbers that then manifest abundance and just life in general and all these, experiences and stories just for us to learn about ourselves together. I cowed them with my display of magic science, and when I released them, they groveled at my feet. Long we dwelt in the land of Kem, long and yet long again, until, obeying the commands of the Master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally, I sent the sons of Atlantis from me in many directions, that from the womb of time wisdom might rise again in her children. Long I dwelt in the land of Kem, doing great works by the wisdom within me. Okay, wisdom within me, coming from my spirit, my individual nothingness. The children of Kem grew upward into the light of knowledge. Okay, light of knowledge. So that's where knowledge is light because they are both made up. They're both details on emotions. That's what knowledge is. Knowledge is like details on wisdom. So true wisdom is knowing that everything's made up. And then it's about like how do you then figure out your perspective on how things are made up, basically. And you can like get your whole own individual wisdom from seeing how things are made up. So that then when things are made up and you're looking at air and earth, you're able to actually consistently correlate it to the fire and water of the nothingness that is making that. That's how you'll get your whole own individual wisdom and never get lost in light and details. The point of these tablets and this language is to get people lost in light and details, in the law, in the legality of everything that they can make up to make you feel like they are a higher vibration than you, to make you feel like they are better than you. So you give your space up to this space. Long I dwelt in the land of Chem, doing great works by the wisdom within me. The children of Chem grew upward until I had knowledge, watered by the rains of my wisdom. Okay. Watered by the rains of my wisdom. So, I mean, that's not like metaphysically, that's cool. You know, like water is actually like higher than air. So, like the water hits the fire and then and the water rains and then like they're in their bodies and like they grow into the light of knowledge. So, at that point, if I were to just make it work real quick for fun, they're in the lower depth dimension, and by me being in a higher dimension, watering, sending down rains of my wisdom, it nurtures them and lets them grow into knowledge. And that's where knowledge in this place would really be light. And light as a dimension correlates more to the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. Whereas the first, second, and third dimension are darkness or like hell. So 4, 5, and 6 are heaven. 1, 2, and 3 are hell. And then 7, 8, and 9 are just like infinity. And the point of that is that in 1, 2, and 3, you're more at the reaction. Like you're more being, well, it's just way more dense, basically. Not nearly as much freedom or expression of spirit, because it's just more lessons or whatever that one can only learn in this dense environment, versus in the higher dimension where it's knowledge. You actually get to create your own knowledge in terms of being the light. So here, like, people are lost in light, and by being lost in light, they're actually just at the whim of emotions, and that's where you get the fear of death and just fear at all, and then war and just getting lost in negative vibrations, because that's what hell is about. So it's always going to interplay. We're just talking about what it takes for like things to happen in that way. It's sort of like the point of these like dimensions, where 1, 2, and 3 is a death realm, 4, 5, and 6 is like the realm of life, and then 7, 8, and 9 is just infinity. Like just that's like infinite, like not like new, always new, just new, like just new things, new, like infinity. And that's where we're creating life from. And then life is always going to look like death. So that's like where the flip. So the astral realm is true life. Like when you go to sleep, you actually wake up to real life. Whereas here, you're actually asleep based on having a way lower vibration and being sort of, I want to use the word stuck just because it's so earthy. You know, like in your dreams, you can fly anytime. And that's the point of creating life. So life is the astral realm, where it is like infinite possibilities, more incarnate based on that feeling. And then the physical reality is meant to really ground that in a truly practical way. And that's the point of being here in like the physical world, is like grounding all this in like a really practical way. Then I blasted a path to Amenti so that I might retain my powers, living from age to age, a son of Atlantis, keeping the wisdom, preserving the records. Great grew the sons of Chem, conquering the people around them, growing so slowly upwards in soul force. Now for a time I go from among them to the dark halls of Amenti, before the lords of the powers. Deep in the halls of the earth, face to face once again with the dweller. High over the entrance I raise a doorway, a gateway leading down to Amenti. Few would have the courage to dare it. Few pass the portal to dark Amenti. Over the passage, I raised a mighty pyramid, using the power of gravity that overcomes Earth's force. Deep and yet deeper, I placed a force house, or a chamber. From it, I carved a circular passage reaching almost to the great summit. There in the apex, I set the crystal, sending the ray into time-space, drawing the force from out of the ether, concentrating upon the gateway to Amenti. I built other chambers and left them seeming vacant, yet hidden within them are the keys to Amenti. He who encouraged would dare the dark realms. Let him be purified first by long fasting. Resonates. Let him lie in the sarcophagus of stone in my chamber. Then I will reveal to him the great mysteries. Soon he shall follow to where I shall meet him. Even in the darkness of earth I shall meet him. I, Thoth, Lord of wisdom, shall meet him, and hold him, and dwell with him always. I mean, it does resonate. It's not like I'm going to individually, personally do that. But if you really care, like genuinely, if you really care, this is what it means. Like in my life as Chase Clarence Calloway, when I make symmetry and I make him as my astral body, as my true self, who travels through dimensions to actually be able to record history and see the truth, because that's like the main thing that frustrates me in this life, is not being able to just travel interdimensionally and see the truth and like come back and like have proof of like, this is what happened to indigenous peoples type deal. Like, is if I could do that instead of like having to read on the internet and just like get all these different perspectives from everyone and like meditate, and like I can do that. But we're talking about most of my life is Chase. I'm just like really only in like the last 2 years, really since I started fasting. And I was working on transgressions when I was fasting, was when I started really getting to tap into this, because I desired it so bad. I learned that spirituality is truly desire. I desired to go interdimensional and learn way more about the history of the creation of the Americas. And through fasting, I learned a lot. And it's a consistent process of learning a lot. This is the point of, it's so dense here, it's time, everything in perfect timing, because it's like spiritually everything's already happened. We're just playing it out. And welcome to nature. Because now it's like, if it's already happened, then who are you naturally? Are you going to naturally do what you're going to do? Or are you going to try and do something else because you want to be something else? That's just not going to work out. Because the point is that spirituality, which is where all nature comes from, is individuality. And individuals who love themselves collectively coming together to love each other. And that's what nature is. When you look out at nature, that's what you see. Now I depart from you. Know my commandments. Keep them and be them, and I will be with you. Oh yeah, I just skipped a bunch. Yeah, hold him and dwell with him always. Yeah, that's nice. So when I'm talking, right, hold up. When I made symmetry in this life, to be able to go interdimensional as a superhero and like record things and not save people, because like as a superhero, I'm not trying to like stop people from getting their karmic lessons or whatever. Like in The Incredibles, when Mr. Incredible saved that guy who did not want to be saved and ended up breaking his neck and actually created way more problems. Man. All right, my phone cut off, and that's pretty whack because I forgot where I was. So I'm going to pack a bowl and remember where I was. Okay, and while I'm packing this bowl, I just remembered where I was. The point of symmetry is then to not only get the truth, but to support nature and to create nature, knowing that we create nature and have us create more beautiful nature all the time and have us be connected in that way. And from there, you get to tap into the root of the symmetry, so to speak, and that's where all the wisdom comes in. And that's sort of like how I like my role as an entity that shares wisdom through people who desire to tap into the root of the symmetry, so to speak. So a lot of stuff that I've left in the past is about that. And that's really, it's just me doing the same stuff, just different words. And really, I mean, leveling it up because like life is linear, quote unquote, like we're leveling up always. So this is the wave for me. Uh, to and this is what this tablet is really referring to and talking about when it's like, oh yeah, I will go meet him. That would be like he goes under the pyramid, he goes to the pyramid, he goes to the root of the symmetry, so to speak, and then he taps in, he fasts, so he raises his vibration above the world, and then he can actually get in there and attain the wisdom that he seeks for how he creates life. I built the Great Pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of Earth Force burning eternally, so that it too might remain through the ages. In it, I built my knowledge of magic science, so that I might be here when I return again from Amenti. I, while I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free, will incarnate and dwell among men in this form or another. I am an emissary on earth of the dweller, fulfilling his commands so many might be lifted. Okay, so that is more authoritarian servant stuff. I am not working for anybody. We work together. If there's that, it's collaboration. It's always collaboration. It is always spirits coming together because they both have imaginations, frequencies that vibe, and then they decide to do stuff together and build a world. And then it's up to other people how they perceive that world. If other people are enslaved by people, then it's easy for them to look at these people who are working together and project onto them like, oh, they're also enslaved. If these people sacrifice people to another god against their consent, it's easy for them to look at indigenous people who agree to get sacrificed and know that they're going back to their higher selves and are transmuting their death into something that will benefit the community and them as an individual, true wild ascension. Then they're going to project onto them that they're just killing. So, and sacrificing to a god outside themselves. So, I mean, hey, perception is going to be projection. Always. You have to want to perceive something to perceive it. And when you want to perceive something, you project into that thing. That's the thing. So if you want to perceive life on Earth, you can't just perceive it without projecting into it. This is where life is always a two-way street, and it's always going to be vibrational. That's like it's a true desire. It is a true desire, right? Like this is like the whole New World Order, Big Brother stuff, to see everything while not being seen. This is this is the ultimate desire of the toxic masculine type energy, any spirits in that space. Where it's like, I want to see everything, but I don't want to be seen. I want to perceive without projecting. But then that desire makes them only perceive things based on how they're projecting, because they're projecting that desire so hard. They're projecting the desire to see everything so hard that they only see themselves. This is the issue with light. I built the Great Pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of Earth Force burning eternally, so that it too might remain through the ages. And then I built my knowledge of magic science. Right. While I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free, will incarnate and dwell among these men. Now I return to the halls of Amenti, leaving behind me some of my wisdom. Preserve and keep the command of the dweller. Lift ever upwards your eyes toward the light. That right there is like, lift ever. No, no. Surely in time you are one with the master. Woo! Definitely not, bro. Surely by right you are one with the master. Surely by right you are one with the all. Lostness. Not it. Not it at all. This is not Thoth. This is not Tehuti. This is not Hermes. This is nothing associated with Chikatet, Irisel, Chase, or Symmetry, or any other names, bro. Like, this is them. This is them projecting their desire to make you all one with their master onto you. And then it's up to you to feel like that you are not worthy to be your own master to fulfill this space. And this is what the spiritual warfare is making people feel unworthy to be their own master, to create a thought that they feel like nurturing. So instead, they use their feelings to nurture the thoughts of these spirits. And the thoughts of these spirits are only working against you in every single way possible. Like, it's weird. It's wild. That's because it's how they want to relate. This is just how they want to relate to the universe. Wild. Now I depart from you. Know my commandments. Keep them and be them. I will be with you, helping and guiding you into the light. Okay, I don't really know if I would actually be saying that. I don't think so. Because I don't want people to rely on me. Like, this is like the show The Boys, or just many superheroes in general, and really a product of the desires of the spirits who are creating these ideas to constantly be needed. Like, to the point where they will create problems to then offer solutions. And like, life is perfect. Like, the universe is perfect. And the only way that they can then be needed in the universe in this perfection is to create problems that they can then offer solutions to. And if they're ultra demonic, then the solutions that they offer are only going to lead to more problems. And now they can build a whole government on making people like create all their own problems and then get into a solution that creates more problems and do that forever. And they are just generating money off of it, basically. And that's like what it is to like trap a soul and like generate chakra and just get your own vibration water wheel going. And that's like true metaphysical hydroponics. Is that what it's called? Hydro something. Is hydroponics like you're growing life from it? It's not hydropower, but like, what is it? Hydro machinery? Whatever. That's a true water generator. Is a chakra. So that's the point. That's how we generate energy. So the more that an entity can get you generating emotion around one idea, then boom, they got you. Now before me opens the portal. Now I go down in the darkness of night. Okay. 2. The halls of Amenti. Deep in Earth's heart lies the halls of Amenti, far beneath the islands of sunken Atlantis, halls of the dead and halls of the living, bathed in a fire of the infinite all. Far in a past, lost in time-space, the children of light looked down on the world, seeing the children of men in their bondage, bound by the force that came from beyond. They knew that only by freedom from bondage could man ever rise from the earth to the sun. Down they descended and created bodies, taking the semblance of men as their own. After their forming, the masters of everything said, "We are they who were formed from the space dust, partaking of life from the infinite all. living in the world as children of men, like and yet unlike the children of men. Then for a dwelling place, far beneath earth's crust, they blasted great spaces by their power, spaces apart from the children of men. They surrounded them with forces and power, shielding them from harm, the halls of the dead. Then side by side, they placed other spaces and filled them with life, and with light from above. Then they built the halls of Amenti, that they might dwell eternally there, living with life to eternity's end. 32 children were there, sons of light, who had come among men, seeking to free from the bondage of darkness those who were bound by the force from beyond. Deep in the halls of life grew a flower, flaming, expanding, driving backward the night. Placed in the center, a ray of great potency, life-giving, light-giving, filling with power all who came near. Placed they around it thrones, 32, places for each of the children of light, placed so that they were bathed in the radiance, filled with the life from the eternal light. There, time after time, they placed their first created bodies, so that they might be filled with the spirit of life. 100 years out of each 1,000 must a life-giving light flame forth on their bodies, quickening, awakening the spirit of life. This is like just true light worship. This is being literally lost in light. Like, the idea that you needed to do this is the ultimate light, and this is just like the physical manifestation of like how it appears. But like, you are your own light. This isn't There in a circle from eon to eon sit the great masters, living a life not known among men. There in the halls of life they lie sleeping. Free flows their soul through the bodies of men. Time after time, while their bodies lie sleeping, they incarnate in the bodies of men, teaching and guiding onward and upward, out of the darkness into the light. There in the hall of life, filled with their wisdom, known not to the races of man, living forever beneath the cold fire of life, sit the children of light. I'm not saying this didn't happen. This very well like is just how things look. It's just I'm not participating in things that are going to have me lost in something outside of myself. Unless it's literally just to relate enough to break people out of that. Because that's what this life is. But like, this very well like can just be a ritual where the point of life is that spirits come together and do what they do alone together. So to create a fire, to create an idea together from your own nothingness and materialize that in a way on earth that looks like quote unquote fire, then unless you're really just talking about imagination, like we really just want to translate it metaphysically and just straight up go like, oh no, like fire, light, the imagination. And then these are all just ideas, right? So really that's where any details would be getting created from anyway. And it's coming down to whether this whole idea of like being children of light is actually just that it's a spirit knowing that they're using light to express themselves, which yes, or it's a spirit believing that they were created from light, which is the point of English and the point of light white supremacy, to make people, to make spirits believe that they are a product of light. So they're only going to phrase things in this way. And then it's going to be like very confusing for everyone. Because that's the point as they colonize the sea. Wild. So no. Everything is just an expression of our infinite individuality. So their interpretation of these stories are also expressions of their infinite individuality. And the way that it's been translated through multiple languages, that's a lot of hands, that's a lot of minds, that's a lot of intentions and agendas involved. It's not going to be the real thing. There are times they awaken and come from the depths to be lights among men, infinite beings among finite men. He who has grown by progress from darkness, who has lifted himself from the night into light, becomes free of the halls of immensity, free of the flower of light and of light. Then, guided by wisdom and knowledge, he passes from men to the master of life. There he may dwell as one with the masters, free from the bonds of the darkness of night. So even this, like, again, it keeps demonizing the night, like demonizing the feminine. Again, it's all just a product of English. That's why this stuff is really mostly going to be lostness. And we are just piecing all the truths that they are using to make people lost to the actual truth, so that we can actually decode, decolonize, decipher, decrypt these tablets. So far this is like kind of just weaponizing story keywords. It's going in a linear way for sure, and it it resonates enough. We'll keep going, of course, but just know that this is literally only this is a bunch of individuals working together to create life, be interpreted by individuals who are working together to take life, because they're also enslaved as well. So they literally cannot imagine that these individuals are creating life even. And it's really not going to show in this language or anything about the way that they explain history. Right there even is history. It's his story. So it's literally only the masculine perspective, only the thought perspective. And thought is nothing but a hyper-specific emotion. And then that's just where you get in an agenda. Like, oh, okay, well, what is this hyper-specific emotion? Like, what is the point here? The point of, the emotion of these languages, English specifically, is to colonize your spirit, make you scared of death, so you feel like you're the light, and then they can take the light and do whatever they want to with it, because now they got you. And that's what virtual reality, Black Mirror, all that really looks like, grounded wise. Mighty and strange, veiled with their power, silent, all-knowing, drawing the life force, they are different, yet one with the children of men. Aye, different, yet one with the children of light, custodians and watchers of the force of man's bondage, ready to loose it when the light has been reached. First and most mighty sits the veiled presence, Lord of lords, the infinite nine, Lord over the other lords of the cycles, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, each with his mission, each with his powers, guiding, directing the destiny of man. There they sit, mighty and potent, free of all time and space, not of this world, yet akin to it. They are the elder brothers of the children of men. Judging and weighing with their wisdom, they watch the progress of light among men. There before them I was led by the dweller, and watched him merge with one from above. Then from him came forth a voice, saying, Great thou art, Thoth, among children of men, free henceforth of the halls of Amenti, master of life among children of men. Taste not of death, except as thou wilt it. Drink ye of life to eternity's end. Henceforth, however, life is thine for the taking. Henceforth is death at the call of your hand. Dwell here or leave whenever ye desireth. Amenti is boundless to the Son of Man. Take up life in what form you desire it, child of the light who is grown among men. Choose thy work, for all must labor, and never abandon the pathway of light. What? How English is that? Choose thy work, for all must labor. No. That's already some indoctrination right there. You can play. You can play for infinity. You can play as much as you want. Play all the time. You don't need to work. Like you know that you're not working when you're playing. Right? Like that's how you're actually happy. Like this is literally just like this is industrial revolution speak of like, oh, everyone needs to labor. All must work. Nah, bro. What is that? Because now you had to teach me what work is and teach me what labor is. And now you're getting me into slavery energy. So they're literally teaching you, like, as a spirit, like, oh, well, I mean, everyone must be a slave. Everyone needs to labor and work. And we can make it work. Discipline is something. See, make it work. Ah,